Today, I would like to share my study about how create better society. And especially people should think about human rights and individuality and flexibility. These are my contents. I would like to include some ideas from UN and also UNESCO and from other scholars. In the world, so many people, many nations, many religions, many cultures and environments, and also many people have different ideas. That's why to have disagreements is normal, and such disagreements go to conflict. But the disagreement itself is normal, and the point is how to deal with the conflict, to go to reconciliation or violent conflict. There are mainly two kinds of societies. One society, they mainly to solve conflict. They believe to have conflict is normal, and how to deal with conflict is important. On the other hand, the other societies think to avoid conflict. For them, to have conflict is unusual and try to avoid conflict. They want to have conflict and try to avoid how to deal before to have heavy negative conflict. And such two kinds of societies, we cannot say easily good or bad. Just they have different ideas because of their circumstances. Just how to deal with important, because if not, human nature's negative side. If people don't finish, if people don't make end the disagreements and conflicts, and some negative human nature comes up, it means a satisfied or antagonized feeling has almost no end without termination. Then actually such two kinds of societies have good point and bad point. For example, to solve conflicts such societies, if their conflicts go better, and I mean the solution is productive solution, if they have, it's totally better. But sometimes people cannot finish for a good result, and they might get destructive solutions. On the other hand, to avoid conflict, they normally use self-restraint and try to control their feeling, their emotional feeling, and try to control and not to go further to negative violent conflict. But it means that they cannot speak their own opinions, their own feeling enough. At the same time, when their such self-restraint break down, they might get worse situations. That's why both sides, so negative points and positive points. People cannot say quickly good or bad. But people need to think about to create better societies. Then people should think about individuality and flexibility, and also including the UN human rights and UNESCO, the culture of peace. The United Nations was established in 1945 because when people forget human rights, the consequences was so destructive, so atrocities. Such people forget human rights. That's why people have to reflect what kind of things people need. Then after people established United Nations, people also think how to create better societies by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And especially this preamble says human rights, everyone is equal, and also freedom. justice, peace in the world. And it means that for creating better societies, people need to think about human dignity and fundamental human rights. And also, people need to think about peace, especially the United Nations. Their meaning of establishment was peace. And that's why people need to think about how to create better societies. And also, continuously, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and especially Article 19, it mentions everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. It means that after all, people have disagreements. It's normal because everyone has everyone's different characteristics and opinions and circumstances. That's why considering everyone's characteristics, everyone has different ideas, opinions, and sometimes it becomes conflict. But of course, people have human rights and people can say their opinions. At the same time, people need to think about human rights, human dignity. That's why what kind of things they want to tell, they want to speak, also need to connect to human rights. And respecting everyone's opinion with deliberating human rights. Because as individuality, everyone has different characteristics. As flexibility, people cannot force others to follow some particular ways. It is foundation. Then, better societies, people need to think about peace. And for creating better societies at peace. And also, people want to make such regulation, but unfortunately, it's so difficult to understand what kind of role, what kind of regulations, what kind of constitution, what kind of stipulation, what kind of laws. But if people don't know it, it's meaningless, unfortunately. That's why 1992, the UN's regulation, the rule of law was proclaimed. The meaning is try to make tangible regulations. Everyone can understand what they should do as a member of the society in the world. Because especially so many kinds of culture, many kinds of society, many kinds of religions, it's hard to understand what is better, what is polite, and what is impolite. Sometimes hard to understand, and how to act is so difficult. That's why I try to make more tangible regulation, because it says, more understandable things, and it makes the society better. But still, in the world, the violence conflict. That's why 2000, from UNESCO, the culture of peace was proclaimed. At first, what is peace? UNESCO proclaimed that's culture of peace. But what is peace? Peace is so non-warning conditions and harmony. But it's not mean people do nothing. Not such meaning. People should not be do nothing. Should not be bystanders. It's more active. That's why to end hostilities and abstain further fighting. Because people have disagreements, it is normal concerning characteristics, many kinds of circumstances, and how to make the situations better. And if the situation goes negative, people try to end the hostilities and abstain further fighting. That's why the actively solving or actively avoiding violent conflicts before conflicts become harmful hostilities and antagonism. And the culture of peace. And because mainly they say they respect in the world many kinds of culture and try not to force only one universal culture. That's why they try to think how other culture, how other people in many kinds of environment try to solve conflict or avoid conflicts or making better situations, making better atmosphere. And also UNESCO, the culture of peace, they think from childhood education, conversation and mutual understanding instead of oppression by force, and also basic necessities for human beings, sustainable economic and social development by international cooperation, international mutual help, like support. And that's why more people think about not only one universal culture, but more diversified culture, more mutual understanding from childhood education, and such sustainable economic social development. Because actually, if people don't have basic necessities such clothes, food, residence, people mainly such situation goes to negative, violent things. That's why such sustainable economic and social development also included this culture of peace. Actually, it's true. Such shortage of basic necessities, such things make people's situation worse and get violent conflict. But in contrast, not every society does such things. Some societies have only shortage of needs, but they don't have conflict. That's why now think about conflict again. What is conflict? Through two scholars' definition, Stile and Bonta. And in short, conflict occurs because two parties, they are conflicting each other because one party wants to manipulate or control over other parties, and such other parties have differing demands or opposing beliefs, such opposite ideas, different ideas, and their benefits, so opposing each other, then conflicts occur. Then previously I mentioned two kinds of societies to solve conflicts or avoid conflicts. But after all, it is a will of end. Previously I mentioned about human nature. If people don't make a decision to finish something, especially negative things, if people don't have a will to end, their negative feeling gonna last forever, almost forever. Sometimes people forget, but sometimes pop up again. That's why need to have will, many cases. At the same time, if people, by a will of end, people have, at the same time, people can create better society at peace by a will of creation. And the characteristics to solve conflicts, such societies. Normally, they want to determine which party is guilty or innocent, or right or wrong. And when they cannot solve their conflicting situations, they try to ask the third party, and they bring such their situation over formal trials because they want to fulfill justice. They want to see justification fulfilled. But sometimes people don't realize, but sometimes they are focusing on emotional satisfaction. People looking for justice, but sometimes emotional satisfaction. But at the same time, this society has better things. For example, they explain own opinions. It's important. They need to clear the situations, their feeling, and the situation of what happened to them and what they want to do, then it is one of the human rights requirements. That's why this sort of conflict, society has also like positive point and negative points. And to avoid conflict, and from Bonta's work, mainly they have 5 points. It is not good or bad. It's not just because they have their own situation, their own ways. From Bonta's work, he mentioned these kind of avoiding conflict societies he named as peaceful societies. And such peaceful societies is mainly small communities like ethnic minorities. He named, for example, Takichians and Semai, such small communities. And mainly such small communities take 5 steps. First, they try to take off emotional feeling from the having conflict parties. Because when people have emotional feeling, such situations, people say sometimes meaningless words or thoughtless attitude they're gonna do. That's why try to take off emotional feeling and like more productive conversation they try to create. And second, requirement of self-restraint. Previously I mentioned the things, and because they focus on to avoid conflict, try to get self-restraint and to make the situation finish so swiftly, quickly. And third, to settle on an internal level for early resolutions. They try to finish within the parties the conflict, because one of the reasons is the societies are relatively small communities, and mainly they have like tight relationship, relatives and co-workers, so they know each other so well. And such small community, if someone's the conflict, such negative feeling, negative atmosphere, easily, quickly affect other people, and so quickly paralyze or dysfunctional situation created. That's why they try to settle their situation within their parties. And fourth, making separation. And people try to live away from the having conflict parties, even their family members. And because their community is relatively small, and it's so hard to live if they are not included, and they are just they cannot join anything anymore. It's so difficult because so small community, like to buy something, to add something, everyone has something norms, and if it's different, it's bigger community goes. If someone is no good, okay, people can go other people. But small community, people cannot ask so many people. That's why if such having conflict parties, so excluded, people cannot join the community. It's hard to live by themselves, so hard. That's why they get cool off what they are doing, and think more clearly, and to get more clear mindset what they should do and avoid conflicts. And fifth, intervention among peaceful people. And if they're having conflict parties, their situation gonna worse, then peaceful mature people come to the having conflict parties and try to settle so quickly. And such intermediate, such people also mature and like peaceful people, not agitators, and they have to be peaceful people. And additionally, for avoiding conflicts, they try to prepare each situation, every situation more peacefully, harmonic, and harmony situations like making smile or present everyone. Try to just better situation, better atmosphere. But why they can do so? It's not compared with the other kind of societies. It's not good or bad because other like avoiding conflicts party has like relatively small communities and they do this kind of way. And like solving conflicts at society, they have their own way. That's why people cannot say quickly good or bad, each one is good or bad. People cannot say that. Just why such small communities to avoid conflicts such societies can do. And people can think in this case they are relatively small and they know each other well. And they have tight connection each other, live together. And it means that even though they are having conflicts, such opponents might be their relatives or their co-workers or somehow they're related. That's why even though a party gets win prize, the other loser party might be their relatives or closer people. It means that one party gets win, the other party, the loser party, their fate come back to the win party. And it means that the other party's fate is also own fate. Then people cannot only oppress other people because other people's fate is own fate. Then it's no one is winner. Everyone is just loser. That's why people want to avoid these kind of things. Then try to avoid conflicts. But it's of course this is a relatively small communities. But people also think about more bigger communities case because people are somehow connected, not only small communities. For example, a negative driving driver, only a negative driver drives, but it affects other drivers. And such other drivers' negative driving style affect passengers and the other people. And it's going to affect, influence everyone and the entire society. And sooner or later, the social influence and the paralyzed social functions. That's why people cannot say one person's fate is only the person's fate. It might connect own fate. And second, from Fabio's work, it is a lack of formalized patterns of ranking and stratification. It means almost no exercising authority or no occupying positions of prestige. And people work together and live together. Everyone is important and necessary. Everyone has norm. Everyone has needed. And also help one another more directly. And such society, even though they have some leaders, but they don't need to have such oppressive leaders to show their prestige and oppress other people. They don't need to have such negative leaders. And such society makes better situations, better community. And also real integration. Everyone is needed, everyone is important, everyone has known. It means that everyone is something better than others. Everyone knows something more than others. And because, like previously I mentioned, everyone has characteristics and environments, everyone is diversified. And this society, they allow to have such characteristics and different things. And also they know each other well and everyone knows something better field. And no one can get everything. But everyone knows something better each other. And of course for bigger societies, And people need to have some certification or ranking, but it should not be negative. They should not oppress others. But for small communities, for them, their situations, like everyone is important and everyone is so needed. And third, from Fabro's work, there are lesser material inequality. And of course, such small communities, they don't have much materials, it's true. But not only such meaning, people can interpret, and also people can think about more for bigger community situations too. Like lesser material inequality means lesser inequality, mental freedom from materialistic ideas. Because for their societies, they don't have negative leaders, oppressive leaders, but more they can live together, they can show their individuality, flexibility, and they can focus on their own ways, their own characteristic, their own freedom, their own better ways. Because such oppressive leaders, people see sometimes such oppressive leaders, such prestige, so seek about such prestige and such materials, such things people seek, and such situation getting so negative and materialistic. Of course, concerning individuality, just the same with other people, it's fine. Just same with other people, such even prestige, just same, it's fine. But just seek without their individuality, flexibility, just seek such what other people have. It makes people feel devastated. But small community, normally they don't have more mental freedom from materialistic ideas. And then they don't need to think how much other people have better materials. And just they can seek their own ways. And also, people need to have real equality, more accessibility, and also like education, job, real equality. Even though people can get the same thing at the same time, but it's not real equality. And that's why people need to seek their own individuality and flexible ways, for meaningful ways. And also people need to think about laws and moral consideration. Even though people can go individual ways, if people don't care about other people's human rights, law, moral, it's also devastating situation they're gonna make. That's why people think about real equality and laws and moral consideration. And such two kinds of societies to solve conflicts and to avoid conflicts. Both societies have positive points and negative points, because such societies create such ideas through their circumstances, and people cannot say which one is good or bad. People cannot say quickly, just difference, and people can use both sides, both of ways. And just the meaning, the important point is how to deal with the conflicts, non-violent conflicts. They need to think. That's why before the conflicts go further negative situations, people need to finish by will. The important thing is a will of end. Finish the negative conflicts and create better societies. Because if don't think about a will of end, negative human nature come up. Such negative human nature previously mentioned. If people don't decide to finish negative feeling, such negative feeling gonna last almost forever. Of course, sometimes time passing, people can forget. But sometimes some happened. Such negative feeling pop up and comes up again. And people again holding such negative feeling until the will of end, the will of end. That's why people need to have will for end the negative situation, negative feeling. And also, existence is important. After all, such two societies, to solve conflicts or to avoid conflicts, both societies think about existence, human being existence. Of course, existence is important, but it's not just survival. People need to care about secured existence, own secured existence. As basic security, people need to have like food, residence, and clothes. But in the world, many people believe as own security issue, security matter. Of course, it depends what kind of things people feel security. But if people believe something as security, security matters, if people don't have it, so feel devastated. For example, occupational security. Some people believe, oh, I need to have like practical training or internship. If not, I cannot get some job. Of course, it might be true, so difficult. But what kind of training, it depends. But when people see other people and compare with own situations, oh, I need to have such training, I need to, if not, and feeling devastated because they forget their own individuality and flexibility. And also personal security, like what kind of job, what kind of like investment or such marriage or friendship. Or I need to have this kind of marriage, this kind of friendship, this kind of job. If not, like compared with other people and feeling so devastated, people forget individuality, flexibility, and feeling devastated. And if people include cultural issue, family issue, and because some culture, like some certain age, people need to do something. For other culture, people do something like childhood or like some security issues, some certain things some cultures have. And if people think such security matters, instead of own flexibility, individuality, own characteristics, people feel devastated because people feel insecure. People don't feel security. And people believe they're gonna go through negative situations, so fear and feel devastated. And if people can realize other ways, but if not, just such devastated feeling, human being negative human nature, if people don't stop, and negative situation, negative human nature comes up, then some people do murder, some people do like blackmail, some people do kidnap, some people commit suicide, and some people do atrocities. Because people forget their own situation, their own individuality and flexibility, but rely on what other people say. Like previously I mentioned such other things and devastating such feeling. But what is real things? It's not such security matters, but more flexibility and individuality people need. And it's gonna create better societies. And also, more previously I mentioned real equality, also important. It's real things, because when people didn't get something, people get negative feeling and devastated. But it is kind of, if people can change their mindset, their situation might be better. But the other things, real equality, some societies, they don't have real equalities. For example, a prosperous nation, but they don't have so real So real supportive situations, more like only some people holding so like benefit, and some people have negative things, and especially people, so social minorities, including such as handicapped people, sick people, like AIDS people, employed people, and they have devastating situation. And of course, if people don't get help, no support from the society, they're physically, mentally ruined. They need to have help. But at the same time, real equality is not just get the same thing at the same time. Real equality is accessibility, opportunity. And people need to, of course, when people are devastated, people need to get help. And at the same time, people can think, what is their real need, their real necessary matter? Then they can think about real individuality, flexibility, and their life, their real meaningful existence. And it brings them hope. And if people have hope, they are not devastated anymore because they believe they can change something. And that's not devastated situation. People don't need to do any negative things. People have hope, people want to live, and people want to create more good things and better societies. Previously, I mentioned about two kinds of societies, solving conflict and avoiding conflict. Both of them have important situations, important points, and also it depends, some not so important points. It depends how to solve by everyone. And just people can take some good points by each circumstances, because after all, there is no only one clear answer for creating better societies. But we have many kinds of learning things from the UN and UNESCO, such as human rights and the rule of law. And also we need to prepare real equality through individuality and flexibility for creating meaningful existence. And also we have to consider human nature, because if not, if people don't think about human nature, especially to finish their negative feeling, such negative feeling has no end until people's will, end of will. Then for creating better societies at peace, first people need to have a will of end for conflicts before going to violence, and a will of creation for better societies at peace. A will is so important, and people can create, people have hope, and of course such regulations and real equality, individuality, flexibility for meaningful existence. And people can have a will and the conflicts and create better societies at peace. And these are resources.